good evening, sports fans, and welcome to Sports Buzz Weekly, powered by Velocity Sports. I am your host, Jason Steinbach. Thank you for tuning in. I'll be joined by Lanny Paul and Oleg Cooperman, and a little bit later at the top of the hour, Zach Cleese will be joining us to tell us a little bit about something. Stay tuned for 9 o'clock, or just be here at 9 o'clock. Check it out. This show will air Thursday evenings at 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, and we'll cover major sports news, odds and ends, analysis, and more. If you'd like to interact with us, that would be great. Leave a comment on this thread, text me, Facebook message me, comment here or on YouTube, and just tell us what's on your mind. Ask us questions, do whatever you want. We really appreciate any interaction we get with you. It makes us know and feel like someone besides our parents are watching us. Let us know if you're watching via YouTube or Facebook. Without further ado, let me introduce to you guys Oleg and Lanny. Lanny, let's start with you, man. How's it going?
That's going good, man. I mean, outside of the NCAA pick, everything's been doing quite well. But excited to have another week, another podcast under our belt, and welcome in a new face and a lot of knowledge, especially on the baseball side. So I'm excited, man. I'm ready to go.
Yeah, thankfully, Oleg brings the looks to this trio right here. Thanks for joining us, Oleg. How happy are you for the start of baseball? I know we're a full week in, but you weren't with us last week. Tell us how you feel.
Yeah, I'm more than just a pretty face. Baseball's back, right? Getting to be at Wrigley Field for opening day was just amazing to be back at a ballpark after all of this going on out there. And it's baseball's back. Like, what else? How much better could things be? It's been 70 degrees in Chicago. Things good.
All right, that's what I like to hear. That's what I like to hear. And to go back to something Lanny said on his intro, I don't want to rub it in, but if you were watching last week, Ross or Angel or Peter, I called it. The only thing I was off on, I said Baylor would beat Gonzaga in the national title game, so that was great because I said Baylor would beat Houston and Gonzaga would beat UCLA. I just thought it was going to be a little closer of a game, so that's where I was slightly wrong, but I took care of it.
I mean, if I can make a retroactive prediction, I also predict Baylor to beat Gonzaga.
That's cool. Yep.
Yeah. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers to that. Thank you for that. I'd like to take a minute and thank our sponsor, and by minute I mean about 3.5 seconds. CJ, his at-home business, Jameis Chocolate Truffles. Message us for more information on how you can get these delicious chocolate truffles into your mouth and into your stomach. So Eddie Del Toro wants to know, is your name really Oleg?
It's on my driver's license and everything.
So, and ladies and gentlemen, it is also on his underwear. His name is not Haynes. It is Oleg.
It is not Calvin Klein.
All right. So
that's good.
To wrap up the college basketball season, I just got one little bit of information here. So with Gonzaga losing and not finishing the season unbeaten champions, the 75-76 Indiana Hoosiers will remain the most recent undefeated team in basketball. Do you think they get together from that roster and kind of celebrate like the 72 Dolphins?
Like when somebody loses?
Or is it just different because the Dolphins were the only one?
Yeah, I think the Dolphins would maybe douche to do that.
So, but I mean, it was Bobby Knight in Indiana. So, I mean, I guess they can't get together because they didn't really have the best, separation or divorce there. So, all right, guys, that wraps up our little bit of intro here. We're going to talk about Major League Baseball, and I like it. I'm wearing a White Sox jersey like I did last week, but this one's a little bit special to me. Let me see where the little tag is on the back. This is BGRA. So if any of my Buffalo Grove Recreational Association buddies are out there, this was from 2010. Evidently, that was one of the last years I played because I got a jersey. Last game, and this isn't kind of how I thought this was going to go. Last baseball game I played. Before I went, this was a couple years ago, I called my wife, my then girlfriend Gina, and I said, hey, I'm going to play in a baseball game tonight. Hadn't played in like 5 or 6 years. She's like, do not get hurt. So I call her in like the 3rd or 4th inning. I'm like, hey, I'm on my way to the hospital. And the guy, Brian, he was playing left field, runner on second, nobody out or 1 out. Fly ball hit, routine fly ball, catches the ball. The guy on second base does not tag up. He's running, so then he comes all the way back, and Brian's like, I'm going to throw this change up from left field to second base. I reach up the line to get the ball. Guy runs into me, snaps my thumb back. Take my glove off. I'm like, oh, we're fine. And then there was just like this little burn, and I'm like, oh, son of a gun.
Oh, man.
But I called my wife, and I'm like, you really had to tell me, don't get hurt.
She jinxed it.
Yeah, she did. Ryan wants to tell us that nobody cares about the White Sox. I don't agree with that. Don't agree with that, Ryan. Those are some of the most hurtful words.
I mean, I'll put it to you. I'll put it to you this way, Ryan. I care about the White Sox only that I wish them ill.
Wow. So
Wow. Strong words.
Yeah.
Strong words.
All right. Fine. Let's start with some MLB notable injuries.
Oh, I mean, speaking of the White Sox, right?
Yeah. I mean, we got Tim Anderson. Lanny, tell us a little bit about what's going on with Tim Anderson and the White Sox.
Sounds like he is a hamstring pull. I guess he's day to day. Luckily, they didn't really have a whole lot of any type of structural damage or anything, but he is definitely missing from the lineup. I mean, he's kind of the spark plug for that whole team, and you're definitely seeing, not today or really kind of yesterday, but they were struggling to get some offense going. And when he's not on the field, he went from not being one of the best fielders in general to being a very high ranking one year over year. And he's still building on that. And unfortunately, this week, just a little roadblock in his way, but it sucks because, he's kind of like the captain of the squad. I know Jose Abreu, everything he's done with the Cuban guys, but really, he's really the heart and soul of that team, and it sucks that he's out. But I'd rather him take his time because they're doing fine right now. They're just hit 500 just a couple minutes ago, so they need him for that playoff push. So take your time, TA. Take your time.
Yeah, the White Sox right now are sitting at 4-4, which is fine. But what I like seeing there, 4-4, they have a +12 run differential.
It's huge.
And Oleg, that you're an analytic geek, like you know so much about it. When you look at the standings, what besides wins and losses, like what are the truer signs of dominance of a team or trending in that direction?
Well, I think at this point, drawing any conclusions after a week of play is a really good way to look like a fool. But I do believe in run differential as a kind of that sort of stuff that even out over 100 games. But more so, I think looking at there's a bit of luck involved. Looking at things like batting average on balls in play and things like that can really make a difference, both from a pitching side and from an offensive side. There's talking about even as far as injuries go, I'm not sure what's going on with the Cubs offense, but now it's been 2 years where it has really been in the tank, and that's a huge thing, right? And that's something that we can worry about even a week into the season because it really hasn't happened. Finally got off the ride today and hit one out, but was it today or yesterday? Right?
Peterson hit a home run yesterday.
Yeah.
Today, I think Baez, Rizzo, and Bryant all went yard.
Yeah, so there's some positive, right? And like I said, kind of even out. And I think we have to wait probably a good month before we can draw any conclusions about it. But, I mean, it's been an interesting week, and I like I said, it's right now nothing. It's just these huge volatility even amongst wins and losses.
Yeah, and then some of the other injuries, obviously the injury for the $400 million man, Fernando Tatis Jr.
Well, to be fair, it was only 340, right?
Oh, whatever.
Yeah,
341 over 10 years or something.
Yeah.
So he's out for an extended period of time. You guys mentioned that Mike Soroka before we got on air, who blew out his Achilles last year. Tell us a little bit about the injury that occurred to him during his rehab.
Yeah, so Soroka was a guy who finished in the top 5 in Cy Young voting 2 years ago, and then early last year hurt his Achilles. The good news about that is that it wasn't an arm injury, right? That's kind of the important thing. But then all of a sudden, and this seemingly came out of nowhere, he was doing well, throwing off a mound, everything was going well in his rehab, probably ready to make his debut sometime later in April. And all of a sudden, he comes down with not really sure what happened or why it happened, but I mean, frankly, it's probably one of the occupational hazards being pitchers get hurt, and they hurt their arms a lot. So that's a little disappointing. You can make the argument that he was a little bit lucky years ago, but he's still a very solid and a very dependable pitcher in that staff. The nice thing about the Braves is they certainly have enough kind of talent in the rotation to make up for it. As a quick example, I will get a little bit later. They got a rookie named Ian Anderson who threw lights out 5 innings. I think even going into this year, a lot of teams kind of needed to have a huge surplus of pitching as it is. And anytime you see some pitchers get hurt early on, it's going to hurt.
All right, and then James Paxton had a big injury for Seattle.
Yeah, he's on his way under the knife. It sounds like going to get Tommy John's surgery. But the impact Paxton, I don't know that he's thrown 150 innings in a decade.
No, and it's kind of disappointing when you see some of those players that have the skill set. I mean, we've seen, not that he was on that good of a trajectory, but Rich Hill comes to mind, where when you see him in a short amount of time, he gets 100, 110 innings. It's like, oh man, like I want more, but more is bad when it comes to some of the players like that. Shane Bieber, Garrett Cole, just looking at some of the stats, Trevor Bauer, all those guys leading the league in strikeouts as to be expected. They're all three of those. Yeah, studs. Lanny, this is a surprise here. I know we're pivoting off of some of the injuries, but Yermin Mercedes. Tell me about this. What do you – come on, White Sox, man. Tell us a little bit about the 20-year-old rookie who makes his major league debut.
I mean, it's taken him long enough. I mean, I think he's been through, 9 or 12 different teams, kept getting cut, and then he just started, hitting the cover off the ball in the minors the last couple of years. Unfortunately, last year with not really having a minor league, just having that offsite in Schaumburg, everyone was clamoring for him, right? He was like one of those fan favorites that people always wanted. And you always see him on the forums and stuff. But I mean, the guy right now, I believe coming into the game, he was at 13 at bats, has 13 or 23 at bats, has 13 hits. He's batting .565. Hit a home run today on opening day. The guy's killing it.
I'm sure that's very sustainable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He put him in the Hall of Fame. Put him in. Just he wrote his ticket today, actually.
I mean, I know quite a few guys. All of us here play 12-inch softball. I know Oleg, you played some 16-inch, but we all probably would sit there and say, through 8 games, if I had 15 hits, I'd probably be happy.
Oh yeah.
If I had 15 hits in a season, I'd be happy.
Yeah, absolutely, right.
So, but it's nice to see guys like that coming together. And then even seeing Jose Abreu donning Eloy Jimenez's batting gloves in his pocket. I mean, that's got to hurt for him to be there. But I've always been an optimist, and I love finding the one good thing out of something bad. Mercedes doesn't get this opportunity early in the season if Eloy's healthy.
I don't even he makes the team.
Do you guys remember that kid who played for the Minnesota Twins a couple of years ago? He might still be there. I was in Castillo, that kind of short, chubby catcher who just hit the crap out of the ball and ran and threw at an arm. Like it was ridiculous. That's what this guy kind of reminds me of. I had no idea what he looked like until I turned on the White Sox game. I think it may have been the Sunday night game last week. And I see the short, pudgy kid, and being a short, pudgy kid myself, it's you got to root for someone like that. Even
are you talking about a couple years ago, Mitch Garver?
No.
I think he was a Dominican guy. Yeah, he's like a big round turtle looking guy.
Yeah. I'll look it up at the bunch, but it's like people will know.
Yeah. And if you're watching Sports Buzz Weekly here on StreamYard, I guess we can give them a plug through Facebook or YouTube. And you know the answer to that, let us know, chime in, give us your thoughts. Yeah, it looks like Soroka, going back to the injury thing, Soroka looks like his return, instead of being the middle of April, is just pushed back a month. So maybe that'll be good. And one interesting pivot there was some of the injuries to pitchers. Last year, they only played about 60 games. The pitchers aren't – there's some guys that are probably going to be left to do whatever they can and want, you know, your Trevor Bauer or whatever, except for the Dodgers that just go 6 innings, call it a day. They are so stacked with pitching. But some of these guys aren't going to throw enough, where missing a month for Soroka, he wasn't going to get over 150 innings this year anyway. So,
but that's sort of the point. Yeah, but that's sort of the point is you need guys to eat up, right? The number of innings doesn't change. Well, actually, this year does change because of the 7-inning doubleheaders. But, you know, you still got to kind of you have to somehow throw those innings, right?
Right,
and
but
so,
you're not going to go from 60 last year, pitching in 60 in your – yeah.
That's exactly my point. So, I mean, in a month, you still got to throw the innings in a month, right? So losing a pitcher for a month is still detrimental. It's not like you're going to make up, right? There's still a certain amount of innings that these kids throw, unless you're Kyle Hendricks, I don't know, John Lester gets over COVID. You know, unless you're one of those kind of veterans, you're going to spread out and you're not going to throw more than 9 pitches in a game, and you get through 4 or 5 innings, great. And you may not see the third time through the order, but that change doesn't change from game to game. Missing a month, still missing a month. It doesn't. Now he's got 120 innings in 5 months. It just probably needs to go throw, 100 innings.
Right. But the back end of the innings will be in October instead of September. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. That if Soroka, yeah. So if they're going to shut him down or limit his innings if he starts later, that was the point I'm trying to get there.
Yep.
And then Marte of Arizona, George Springer of the Blue Jays, Trevor Rosenthal of the A's, just a few more notable names that are, for some of the teams, they're going to be blessings in disguise. Just like we talked about with Eloy Jimenez going down. I mean, it hurts to have that bad out of the lineup, but you're seeing other opportunities. Yeah,
but come on, let's face it. No matter how good of a story Mercedes is, right? Is that his last name? You're not. Yeah. He's not going to hit 500 all year, right? And that's kind of my point.
But he's getting the chance before he normally would have if he was waiting for maybe Andrew Vaughn or Zach Collins to struggle. That's all I'm saying. It's going to make you want Jimenez in the lineup, obviously.
Yeah.
Not what I'm saying.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, but the story of the day for the White Sox there, Lance Lynn getting a victory in the home debut. Just that's the type of professional. You look at what the Cubs did going into their run to, 4 straight NLCS with the one World Series in 2016.
Yep.
You, Oleg, knew about their prospects. You knew that Baez was going to be something. Russell looked like he was going to be good. Then they had this Chris Bryant. They had already traded for Rizzo. Everything was looking good. But for me as an outsider to the Cubs, watching John Lester get signed by the Cubs, you just like, okay, that's it. And then for me as a White Sox fan, and Lanny, you can expound upon this, Dallas Keuchel last year, but that's as big of the Lance Lynn one. It's just, it's different. And what are your thoughts on how this pitching rotation is going to shape up for the White Sox?
Well, I think it's going to change. If Dylan Cease, I think they're giving Dylan Cease as many opportunities as he can to kind of either keep his rotation or his spot in the rotation or lose it, because you do have a guy like Kopech, and he has looked amazing coming out of the bullpen. You're seeing a reemergence of Carlos Rodon, who, they cut at the end of the year and didn't offer him a contract, to then re-signing him. And you're seeing him actually looking like he did, 4 or 5 years ago before all those like inflammation injuries in his arm and everything. So I'm interested to see, is Dylan Cease going to hold on to it, or is he going to go into the bullpen and then you're going to see Kopech? Are they going to do a 6-man rotation? I think with the way that the pitching has been going the last few years, where guys are, maybe getting 5 innings, if they get into the 6th or the 7th, that's like an anomaly normally. I could see a 6-man rotation just to keep everybody fresh, keep these arms going, because, the truncated 60 games last year and then kind of a weird spend innings and going 7 innings or make a decision if they're going to do it. I'm going to change a lot of that. So I think that's kind of how it shakes out. As far as the bullpen and back end, I don't know. I'm not sure.
I will tell you this much. The two things that I would add to that is I don't think that you can overlook how big of a signing Yasmani Grandal was to the young pitching staff. And I think that's kind of that's just a pretty big – I mean, that guy's a professional. He knows how to handle his staff, and he's just really, really good at what he does. The other thing that I will say is 6-man rotations, I think, will be a little bit more popular. But the one thing that I think may even trump that is the idea of maybe handcuffing. So, for example, when Dylan Cease goes out there, you may see things like Dylan Cease throw the first 3 innings of a ball game, and that, one time through the order, or a time and a half through the order, whatever it may be, and then maybe having somebody like Michael Kopech come in for the beginning, and then you do that every night. And then that way they keep both of them in the same kind of in the same routine, while also at the same time limiting innings and limits the batting order. And I think those are the kinds of things that you may actually see more often in baseball, because there are kind of more and more innings eaters out there that can do things like that. One of the things that I think that, is one save notwithstanding, one of the things that I think Cubs might even do is maybe a hand like Alcantara and Mills and do kind of the same thing where you kind of go 3-4 innings with one of the guys, 3-4 innings with another guy, maybe 1 time, and then we'll see how many innings they can cover.
Yeah, I don't think that's unlikely. I mean, teams are doing that in the playoffs, because of the shortened playoff runs. Guys are going 2 innings, 3 innings, then 4 innings, and outside of the rule where you have to do 3 batters. You could definitely see a lot of that changing. So that's definitely, it's a good point, very good point.
All right, so I had something playing on my computer. I was trying to find a good trivia question for you guys to keep with the White Sox theme here, but excellent points about the depth of pitching and just how important it is to keep guys fresh. I mean, just Carlos Rodon, some people forget he was a first-round pick.
Yeah.
So this guy, injury after injury, maybe when he puts it together, do I think he has the best stuff in that rotation? No. I mean, Lucas Giolito is a stud.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But here's the trivia question. Jose Abreu became the 5th White Sox player all time for career home runs the 5th player in White Sox history to hit 200 home runs.
Yeah.
We all know who number 1 is, Frank Thomas. That's just common sense if you live in Chicago. Can either of you tell me who's 2nd, 3rd, and 4th? Or if you're listening at home or on the train, on a boat, wherever you are listening to us, this is –
I'll tell you who it's not. It's definitely not Tony Bernazard or Julio Cruz or Rudy Law.
Right. It's also not George Bell, Sammy Sosa, Robin Ventura, or
that's
Jack
also
McDowell.
Robin Ventura never had 200, huh? I didn't. I would have guessed Ventura.
Not as a White Sox.
No.
So this was just in a White Sox uniform.
So I can tell you, outside of Frank Thomas, 2 of them. I know he's 14 home runs away from Carlton Fisk. He would catapult him. You got Harold Baines. Obviously, we said Frank Thomas, and I'm missing one person. I don't want to say Belton Bill Melton, but
Paul Konerko.
Yes, Paul Konerko.
Yeah, Paul Konerko's in 2nd place on that one.
Yep.
So I just found that one to be a little bit interesting. I knew Thomas and Konerko were at the top. I just kind of forgot about how many Baines and Fisk accounted for. So
God, Hall of Famer Harold Baines.
So all right. Love the White Sox. When's the last time both the White Sox and Cubs had potential to finish 500?
Potential to finish 500? I mean, last year.
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, because the Cubs, what are you sitting there thinking about? Okay, it might be great. Maybe the band can get it going. The pitching's good enough. Or do you, as a Cub fan, want to see them trade what's valuable? Do you want to see Chris Bryant get off to a hot start and then net you a prospect or two, or
No. I was so I haven't mentioned it, but I do a podcast also, and after Yu Darvish got traded, to me it's very very. I don't think I'll be talking out of turn when I say that I absolutely cannot stand the Cubs owner. It's both, frankly, both for political reasons and for how they run the club. You really had an opportunity if you were to put an extra. I certainly don't have the kind of money. If you were to simply keep Yu Darvish and then put an extra $30 or $40 million into this team in this year's payroll, you would still stay under the luxury tax, whatever the heck that means, whatever. You'd still stay under the luxury tax, and you could have very easily added yourself. Heck, even somebody like Trevor Bauer, as much as I can't stand him either politically, but even like somebody like Trevor Bauer, or at first, what would have been the big deal for the Cubs to make a deal? It's not like the White Sox gave up all that much for Lance Lynn. I know Dane Dunning might be pretty good, but it's not like they give up all that much. The good thing about the Cubs and where you kind of see some hope, even for this year, is you really do have some pretty decent prospects for coming up. None of them, however, are as impacted the prospects they had in 2014 or so, especially after they picked Schwarber. But money would have glossed over a whole lot of guys. And granted, guys like Trevor Rosenthal got hurt, and Paxton got hurt. I would have loved to see the Cubs sign both of those guys, but you didn't know that going in. And I think just these owners, with their lack of spending, the Yankees have always been the kind of team, or the Red Sox have always been the kind of team that could gloss over the spending mistakes they've made in the past by simply spending more. And I get that the Jason Hayward contract hasn't worked out, but to use anything like that as an excuse for these POSs to not spend money on this team is bordering, well, not criminal, but it's bordering on.
Right, but do the Cubs in 2016 win the World Series without Hayward, and take out the fact that he gave a speech during a rain delay? I love
Jason Hayward. I love Jason Hayward. I've got nothing against Hayward. I don't care how much money he makes. I hope they make twice as much as he does right now.
Yeah. So
good thing Marvin Miller's finally getting into the Hall of Fame. But it's very there's still, I feel like they're still using it as an excuse, and I still think that they're using the 2019 version of the 2018 version of Yu Darvish as an excuse, and I still think that they're using Jason Hayward as an excuse to not spend more money. I mean, facts have worked out. The one thing that I will tell you, and maybe I'm giving it away with my bold prediction, I predict that Craig Kimbrell is going to finish as the best closer in National League this season. And it's a slap in the face to the fan that this team wasn't invested in more after the 2012.
All right, Lanny, what kind of bold prediction do you have now that Oleg is going to spring that upon us, that Kimbrell is going to finish as the top closer in the National League?
Well, I mean, I hate to be, a homer or whatever, but talking about, the White Sox, one of my predictions last week was that, Andrew Vaughn was going to end up being the American League Rookie of the Year, and obviously he only has like a 0.17 batting average right now. He's got his first RBI, but if you look at his track record all throughout, whether it be college or the minors, he was very advanced in his hitting. He's kind of hit a little bit of a skid right now, but I feel he's gonna get to where he needs to be. It's a long season, it's a marathon. It's not how you start, it's how you finish. I think he's really good. And I think that, I know the Cubs kept Bodie, but I think Nico Horner is going to be a big plan for the Cubs moving forward, because that guy was just too good, and I can't believe they didn't keep him around, and they kept, an extra arm or another catcher or something like that, which is something they didn't need.
Let's call a spade there. That was the surface excuse was let's get an extended look for David Bodie at second base. It's a service issue.
Well, I don't know about that. So here's the thing. Here's the thing about I think that's kind of the easy excuse, that the service time thing with Horner. But he is his glove is absolutely ready, right? He was a Gold
He's
Glove
good.
finalist last year at second base, and I don't think people know that his glove is ready for the major. But I think that bat is still lagging behind. I want to say just two quick things, Lanny, about what you said. First of all, as far as Vaughn goes, what I will say is this: he is now walking at an 18% rate. It's 1 week. Don't pay any attention to that. But the fact, and we kind of talked about this before we came on, his right now his on base percentage is a full 200 points higher than his batting average. The guy is getting on base, and that still has a lot of value. And in fact, even right now, even with the struggles that he has, and again, only 17 plate appearances, he's still striking out 35% of the time. That will probably even out. He's never been a huge strikeout guy, right? That's always kind of been his strong part, is that he can put the bat on the ball a little bit. So I don't know that I would worry very much about Andrew Vaughn in the long term, especially if he continues to see this. But having said that, I will say this is my second bold prediction: the Minnesota Twins are going to win.
The Minnesota Twins are going to what?
Go to the World Series this year.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, the White Sox will win the division. The Twins will get the wild card. But just to shore something up about about Andrew Vaughn, in his 3 collegiate seasons, 123 walks to 75 strikeouts.
Yeah.
So that's not going to be a fluke. He's got Adam Dunn's eye. He's going to have a big on-base percentage, and once he gets to connect bat and ball, which he will, he's a hitter.
Yes.
Then the sky's the limit there, and that's another added weapon in that White Sox lineup. So if I'm going to throw a bold prediction out there, until I'm told that it's not going to happen, once the Dodgers get rocking and rolling, they're going to come close to that Seattle record. That team's going to win north of 105 games this year. They're just too good. You know, you sit there and you're like, all right, I think Corey Seager could be the 3rd best player on the Dodgers. He was my MVP pick. Just dissect that sentence. He's a viable MVP candidate, but he might only be the 3rd best player on his team.
I mean, he's definitely the 3rd best player on his team. Yeah.
He bet.
I think he definitely is the 3rd best player on his team. Like, I would totally agree with that. The one thing that I will say that may hold the Dodgers back is they do have to play the Padres 19 times. Now, the rest of the division is kind of what it is. Right? The Rockies aren't very good. The Diamondbacks might be okay, but probably not. But the rest of that division is kind of packed. I mean, we'll see what the Giants do. They may be all right. But, just them, if them and San Diego kind of fight it out, that may keep them from challenging the Mariners record. But I mean, that's still not that many games. So we'll see. They do in a weak division, other than the Padres. But like I said, that Padres team is really good too.
Yeah,
even without.
That was one of my bold predictions here on Sports Buzz Weekly, powered by Velocity Sports. I think Zach at some point is going to come on and give us a little bit of news. I just need the okay that he's there. I think he tried to appear on his own, but I don't know. He just had he didn't have a baby, but his fiance had a baby last week.
It'd be a problem if he had a baby.
Right. Yeah.
He'd be freaking rich.
Arnold Schwarzenegger made a whole movie about it, right?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Weren't you in that? That's not Danny DeVito. No.
Nicely done.
No, we haven't seen him stand up. So I think. So that was a good movie, though, Twins. All right. So what else we want to talk about with baseball? We're going to talk a little bit about some prospects. About some prospects.
You want me to start? Like this is my jam. Well, not really, but I will say this. And I think that I don't know that people don't know about this guy anymore. He's 20 years old. Easily the best prospect. Fangraphs just stuck an 80 future value on him, which never happens. You're talking about Wander Franco is a 20-year-old kid who, if you think about the offensive skills of Vlad Guerrero and Ronald Acuna, and Acuna is probably not arguably, but definitely one of the 3 best players in the National League. And certainly Vlad Guerrero is off to a pretty good start this year, and he'll be all right this year. But you're talking about somebody who's got those kinds of offensive skills, that kind of speed that Acuna has, and plays a premium up the middle position more than adequately, he might be pretty special. Now, I don't think there's very much reason for Tampa Bay to bring him up this year. They're pretty okay up the middle right now with Adames and Lowe. But man, this kid might be pretty special if he does.
All right, Lanny, give us one of your top prospects.
Oh man, so I got a couple, but I like Jason Dominguez in the Yankees organization. They call him, what is it, Mini Hulk or whatnot? The guy is like 17 years old, and the guy's built like a brick. If you can YouTube him, and just watching his batting practice, like the guy is ridiculous. Outside of just his value, if anyone collects baseball cards, that guy's cards are ridiculously overpriced for a guy that never stepped on a Major League Baseball field yet. But I mean, obviously, the Yankees are always well known for their players. This is just another one to add to the mix in the future. I'd look for him, but another one, and not to steal anyone's thunder, but Ke'Bryan Hayes. I know he had that little wrist injury, but the first game of the year against the Cubs, the guy rips a home run. So when he's back to full speed, that guy is. I still think he's going to be my rookie of the year. So I would say those two: one that's up already, and one that's in the pipeline on the next few years to keep an eye on.
Yeah, just a quick note, Jason. Jason Dominguez spells the first name with two S's.
Yes, two S's.
It sounded like Jason. My name's Jason, so he's younger. He's got to respect his elder with that one. With all due respect.
What I will say about Hayes is the kid's calling card has been his glove. Like talking about somebody who might have with Arenado as the best defensive third baseman in the National League and can do it pretty quickly. And the fact that his bat is coming around has been incredible for
and the thing to remember, in 8 professional seasons, Arenado, or Major League seasons, he has 8 Gold Gloves.
Yes.
So that's not just saying that it's a recency bias or something towards like the incumbent. I mean, this guy is a Hall of Fame third baseman. Yeah. Arenado is one of the best defenders we have ever seen.
Yes.
And there's a guy
put him in the Hall.
There's a guy as a rookie that's already challenging, or that has the potential to challenge that kind of.
I mean, I'm not saying that he's there right now.
No. I'm saying Arenado is the Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
But if this guy can flash the leather that a Hall of Famer is flashing, there we go.
Yeah.
Oleg, tell us about the catcher out of Baltimore.
Adley Rutschman. He's got a T in his last name also, I believe, and I believe he spells it with 2 N's, but that's okay. So this kid was a first-round pick in the first pick in the 2019 draft. He's a quick-hitting catcher who gets incredibly amazing grades, not only for his defense, but for his hitting and for his power. You're talking about a guy who can very, very easily anchor that Baltimore Orioles staff and anchor their defense from the catching position for the next decade, 15 years easily. He's everything that you want in a catching prospect. Like I said, he's a switch hitter. He makes contact, and he plays great defense. Like, this guy is the real thing. The only thing that would keep him back is that the Orioles really don't have any reason to start his service clock. And otherwise, he'd probably be up by now. I'm sure that they're already talking about a suspension. That's been sort of the hot thing going in baseball. The White Sox have been huge in doing things like that with both Madrigal and Eloy. But yeah, he'll be fun to watch for a lot of years.
So, all right, and then real quick, Oleg, as we wrap up our conversation about baseball, tell us a little bit about Detroit's prospect.
Yeah, so this is a power-hitting first baseman, first pick in the draft last year. Again, a college kid, so he's pretty well ready for the major leagues. I think that if you actually had a minor league season last year, I probably wouldn't be surprised if he opened the year with Detroit. Same situation as with Rutschman in Baltimore. They really don't have any reason to start his service clock yet. Detroit also has some pitchers that are coming along that might be pretty good. They've got one already. Well, they've got a couple already in the rotation in Skubal and Casey Mize. And this kid should anchor their offense. The only thing that's probably, and it's not really a knock on him, but more of a knock on you weren't gonna pass him up last year, but he doesn't play a premium defensive position. That's sort of the knock on Andrew Vaughn also. So you don't get as much value out of him as something like Fontenot, but I'm not giving credit to Fontenot.
Right.
Especially like someone like Adley Rutschman. Like you really, there's a big value on those up the middle positions. And as you kind of move down the defensive spectrum, it makes it a little bit easier to find those players. Having said that, if this kid comes out and hits 40 home runs and plugs 600, you're absolutely going to be happy if you're Detroit with that pick, no matter who else you could have gotten or what else.
All right. And then just to shore it up for people up the middle positions, we're talking about catcher, pitcher, second short, center field. When you were growing up playing ball, if you were I'm going to sound kind of like a dick here, but if you were any good, you played shortstop, you pitched, you had an arm, you could do many things.
Yep.
A shortstop can move to third base. You saw that back in the mid-'90s when you had that surplus of stud shortstops, Jeter, A-Rod, Noma, Miguel Tejada.
Yep.
And then some of those guys eventually had to move over to third base, So
Barry Larkin, yeah. And what I will say this is because you mentioned Dominguez, the Cubs signed themselves. I mean, the Cubs are now back into shortstop factory as well. They have about 4 or 5 or so prospects right now that are really, truly can be impact players at the major league level. Still years away. Their number 1 pick last year, a kid named Matt Howard,
local
is a shortstop. But what's really exciting, and they got a shortstop in the Yu Darvish trade, the 19-year-old kid. The other thing, though, what they did do is they went out and they signed probably the best up the middle prospect out of the July 2 class, which was actually an August class last year, a guy named Christian Hernandez. Well, a lot of scouts are comparing, and take this with a grain of salt, the kid is 16 years old, but a lot of scouts are comparing him to A-Rod, just in the way that he plays ball. He's got a long way to go to even be A-Rod by the time A-Rod was 19. Never mind about the career that A-Rod had, but certainly it's something to get excited about if you're
interesting note, he may or may not be dating a relative of J-Lo as well. Thanks for joining us tonight, Oleg. Had a great time talking baseball with you.
Thanks.
Lanny, stick around. We're going to bring in Zach now, the ugliest guy by far on the Velocity Sports. I mean, maybe not by far. He's got some kin that's a part of here. Zach, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us here on Sports Buzz Weekly. How you doing today? How's the baby?
You're fired. I mean, hey, what's going on, guys? No, baby's doing great. Everything's going awesome. Love to see what's going on so far. Figure I'd pop in and steal up some time here, You
got some news for us? You wanted to make an announcement here live on Sports Buzz Weekly?
Yeah, I figure since, we have a minute here, awesome Velocity Sports, we've launched that, with that being Sports Buzz Weekly. With that comes the next, which is going to be the Bird's Nest. With the Bird's Nest, we're going to offer a rare and unique perspective on hot topics throughout the week. That will be on Mondays. First show is planned to be aired 4/19. Boom.
All right, and you'll have yourself, Zach. You'll be on the show. Your co-host is also your brother, Jake.
Yep, and
CJ is going to be coming on with you guys.
Correct. We will have CJ on there also. I'm sure we'll have time to fit some guests and things in there at times as well. But that's just kind of obviously as the show goes on. But that's what we have going for us right now. Yep,
and I'm gonna steal some of the thunder here and spread some of the word with what we're doing here at Velocity Sports. My name's Jason. This is Lanny. You're tuning into week 2 of Sports Buzz Weekly. Oleg was on with us earlier. Last week we were joined by CJ. What we're trying to do here is build some credibility within sports and have a little bit of fun and talk about topics that aren't just statistical driven sports. Having a deep dive into different angles and Q&A sessions with different minds just to kind of get together. And it's always nice to think through and talk about different topics with people from all over the country. I mean, here we're more Midwest with this part, but CJ's out in DC. I got a friend out in Seattle that's going to join us, a guy in Colorado who's going to join us, and just getting a different local perspective to a familiar brand is always a good thing. Lanny, tell us some of the exciting things that you have in your mind and in store for Velocity Sports, and as we continue to try to build this brand.
Oh yeah, I mean, outside of the baseball, that's one of the things that I'm very passionate about. I love me some basketball, which we'll probably get into in a little bit. Bring some fantasy knowledge. I've been doing fantasy sports and fantasy betting for roughly about a decade now. That's the things I'm gonna bring to the table. A little bit of outside perspective from being involved in it, from a coaching. I used to do refereeing and also playing the sport, and just not so much around it anymore, but I still have a lot of plugs and people that I know in higher places that might be making some guest appearances in the future. People that write for the Blackhawks and certain stuff. So, I have another friend that works writing professionally for the Panthers out in Carolina. So, there might be opportunities and things that I'm going to bring to the table and aspects that might be a little bit different. I'm all about, little quirky, one of those random sports knowledge facts that other people are like, well, I don't need to know that, but it's fun to know. And it's, good at parties and so forth. So
yeah,
that's,
you were in the service industry for quite a few years, as was I.
Yeah.
And most of my time was spent behind the bar. These trivia questions were great. And it didn't matter if it was a bar where I was the established head bartender, whatever, the longest running guy, and it was my clientele that I was catering to, or the most recent spot I worked at the end of 2018, beginning of 2019. This was a well-ran bar, established clientele. My job there was to just not mess it up. So when you're working in busy sports bars like that, you got to offer something unique. So
yep.
If there were a group of people that I didn't know, I try to get in there with trivia, and that's kind of fun. We'll probably do some sort of trivia through these shows, cross-brand, maybe try to do some kind of contest at some point. But what we really are trying to do here is give you this type of content multiple times per week. That's where the Bird's Nest and this show come in. But what we also want to do is take a spin, and like I said before, the deep dive, which I don't know which one of you jackasses got that instilled in my brain. I keep on seeing deep dive. Like, what are we just going scuba diving or something? Like, I don't want to breathe underwater. But we're gonna break down the NFL draft. We're gonna have a draft special the week of the draft. So we're just gonna have a show devoted to that. I think it's gonna be Zach and Jake are gonna be basically just doing a mock draft. It's gonna be similar to what the guys at the big network do, where the two of them don't necessarily like each other the whole time. They're not going to be on the same side. They want to be right. And what we want from you, whether you're watching live now on YouTube or Facebook, or you come across the stream after the fact, we would like for you to get involved with it. And maybe we'll work out some kind of contest with their existing sponsor, Jameis Chocolate Truffles, or any other sponsors that want to be a part of us. And the most accurate mock draft, and we can come up with some kind of template. We'll do like an interactive mock draft to figure out how to get a contest to get people interactive. And also, if someone wants to join one of our shows, reach out to us. We're more than welcome to bring someone on. We like to try to set people up for success here. Like, Oleg knows a lot about baseball. Lanny does as well. Lanny's a little more well-versed when it comes to talking about basketball, football. Oleg gave up fantasy football for Lent back in 2003. He never came back. He's backstage right now. He can't look, or he can hear, but you guys can't see him. And then as soon as the NFL draft is over, I'm a degenerate gambler, fantasy football guy. I'm going to release my fantasy football dynasty rankings after the draft concludes. So if you have some ideas and you want to get involved with us, contact us. You know how to get in contact with myself. I can introduce you to Zach, Lanny, the rest of the crew. And just kind of go from there. And then obviously we'll evolve from and have like a fantasy show once the fall rolls around. We're also going to be doing this one I know Zach was excited about, and I know Lanny will probably be a part of this as well, an NBA playoff preview show. Once it gets a little bit closer, we'll have that play-in tournament. Actually, Zach, let's put you on the spot here. Are you
Great.
the NBA play-in tournament? Are you aware of how they're doing that? If not, I can tell you, I can explain exactly how it's going. I'm just asking if you know how.
From what all I necessarily understand about this tournament is, what is it? The 7 and 8 seed with the 9 and 10 are all playing for the last 2 spots in the respected divisions.
Conferences.
Sorry.
Yeah. So specifically, 7 plays 8. The winner is the 7 seed. 9 plays 10. The loser is out. The loser of 7-8 plays the winner of 9-10. The winner of that game is the 8 seed. So we were looking at the standings and talking a little bit before we got on air. And in the Eastern Conference, I think it's close to what it was last week. No, actually, it is. It's actually changed. The Celtics play the Knicks. That's the 7-8. And the Pacers would play the Bulls in the 9-10. So as a Bulls fan, that kind of has me excited that they at least get a chance to win a playoff game. But the Western Conference is where it's at right here. 7 and 8, you get a game between Dallas and Memphis. That is great.
Yep.
I mean,
Great
the
basketball.
marketing for that game, unbelievable.
Luka and Ja.
Yep. And then the 9-10, you've got 2 of the most successful or more successful organizations.
Like
in the
Golden
last 20 years.
State. And,
Spurs and Golden State.
yeah.
So that'll be pretty cool to do that. Just wanted to touch on that a little bit. Zach, what else do you have to add about the brain here?
Honestly, that's perfect. That's the nail on the head. That's where we're at. That's what I want everyone to realize, what we got going on. You know, it's not just about one thing, it's about everything. You know, we're here to cover all sorts of sports, and you know, we might even have a touch in here at times about, you know, UFC. Maybe we'll talk about NASCAR for like 5 minutes. Like, this is
I'll
sport.
talk about NASCAR when they make left turns the whole time. That's when I'll talk about NASCAR, all right?
That's great. But yeah, that's what it is. Like, we're here to talk about sports. We're here to talk about multiple different levels of sports. It's not just about one thing. So tune in each week. Whether it be Thursday or whether it be Monday, we'll be here.
Right. And Zach, hey, real quick, just to piggyback off of that, what is on the docket for the 19th? I know we're about 11 days away, so you got a lot of prep. Any specifics you guys are going to get into? I know the deep dive and
Yes.
you know, the NFL draft preview. What are you guys looking to do on that
Pretty
show?
much. I think we're going to have a little bit of draft preview stuff, kind of get prepped for that. I know we'll be closer to the play-in tournament there. I mean, we're going to be
not until
we're
the
gonna be-
3rd week of May, so you got a little bit of time there. So
Yeah. So, I mean, we got all sorts of things, but I mean, I know we're going to be really close. Let's see, it's the 19th, so about 10 days out from the NFL draft. So, I mean, that'll be one of the major things. But yeah, we'll have a couple other things to talk about as well. Particularly one thing I've been kind of paying attention to is there's some interesting kind of back and forth going right now in a specific division in the UFC with Masvidal and Nate Diaz and Colby Covington and Kamaru Usman are all kind of talking back and forth, and Masvidal basically wants to destroy Colby Covington's face. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of getting excited about that. So that'll be something to pay attention to as well.
Yeah. No deep dive on the Paul Pierce with the strippers
Oh
and the
God! Oh God!
the Instagram live and him getting fired and laughing about it.
I'm going to bring Oleg
God.
back in for a moment. Oleg, how upset were you that Paul Pierce did not invite you to that party?
Wait, are you guys still talking about the Paul Pierce who used to play for the Celtics?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got
You didn't see the
players on,
Instagram
the
Live?
Big network.
No,
Because-
I have no idea what you're talking about. I am upset that I didn't get invited to that party now. But what's the story?
Oh, so all right. So he did an Instagram live where he was smoking blunts, and he had like 3 or 4 strippers in the background, doing a bunch of crazy stuff, and basically, you know, obviously with ESPN and stuff like that, they didn't want to have that on their brand, so they let him go. And then he was pretty ripped and laughing about it on Instagram like in 3 seconds, and posted like the truth will set you free. It's
I'm
hilarious.
pretty sure FS1 will pick him up in no time. But
Right,
Sure.
but there were some things that came out after the fact that this was like, if it was an isolated thing, that's fine. They probably would have looked the other way. But there was a lot of talk about how he wasn't coming to work prepared.
That's
And that
funny.
this was just the final straw with it. So then it makes a little bit more sense. I mean, little
That's
bit there.
great.
Zach, I think this one's for you. Tanner said,
Yes,
"Masvidal
yes.
all
What up,
day
Tanner?
long."
Yes, gotta love Masvidal. The dude eats quarter pounders of cheese and double cheeseburgers with McDonald's sauce the 2 days before his fight. He's
Bro.
Yeah,
boss.
so do I.
Hey, I didn't even know about Masvidal, man. Do you know he got his whole start from Kimbo Slice doing the
Yep,
the
backyard brawling.
backyard brawl. I had no idea. I saw like a
Yep.
special on Kimbo Slice. I was like, no shit. Okay.
Oh,
my
yeah.
bad.
Masvidal's a
Like
bad
it.
dude. Masvidal's a
That's
bad
crazy.
dude.
I will
So,
say I don't know anything about UFC or anything like that, but on I think it was on Netflix. I've been watching The Dark Side of the Ring, which I highly recommend. It's
yep.
all about like all these backstories of professional wrestling. Super like just very very interesting. Even though I haven't watched professional wrestling since like the late '80s, it's really really interesting stuff, and I highly recommend it. That's literally the only thing you guys are talking about. So much.
All right. Well,
With-
thanks for
with-
the comment and the interaction there, Tanner. Always love when people interact with us and tell us how they feel. Kobe is a loose cannon. Oh, Tanner wants to come on the show and tell us a little more. Masvidal has the composure and experience to
My
expose him
guy.
and put him away. Look at that. That's some top-notch
Yeah.
analysis. I think, you might have
100%.
I think you need to be talking about UFC. Tune into the Bird's Nest, April
Yeah.
19th.
Boom.
Oh, yeah. Tanner used to do a little bit of some MMA stuff back in the day. I know him quite well.
Nice.
No,
Well,
don't mess with
With that, before my phone dies and I disappear, I appreciate the time, fellas. We will look for you guys here soon, and everyone tune in, and we'll look for everyone then.
All right. Hopefully, you look a little bit better by the 19th. Get some sleep. Dog.
Thank you. Later, guys.
Later, man.
So, we can't laugh